How's it going, everyone? I'm Sean from 603 Bass, and this is a bass fishing quick tips on blade baits. Blade baits really come into play when the water gets really cold. We're talking 45 degrees or colder, and the fishing has slowed way down. Generally, most people think of fishing these vertically, but there's actually two different ways you can fish them. Before getting into that, there are also two different types of blade baits, at least in my opinion, and this is where it matters for the two different ways that you can fish it. You have your more traditional Binksy style, which is a much taller blade than what you get from, say, a Bass Pro style, which is a much shorter blade top to bottom. Why that matters, most people think you can just fish these vertically, and that is an absolutely great way to fish them. But another method is you can long cast these, and instead of doing, short vertical hops when you're fishing it straight vertically, when you get a long cast, you can sweep the rod, and you still kind of get the same action out of it. But with these taller blade baits, they're less likely to foul up because that front hook, the blade is too tall. It cannot get up and wrap around that. Sometimes it'll catch your snap swivel, but it's not that often. Whereas the shorter height ones with these slightly bigger trebles, and you can change up the trebles to make it a little bit better, but if you play around with it, you can get that front treble to wrap around, and it's going to foul up a lot more often on long casts. So that's kind of why it's important to have two different style blade baits when you're doing that kind of fishing. You got one that you can either fish vertically or long casts, and you got one that's just really better suited for fishing vertically. When it comes to colors, there's a whole host of options you can do. I try to keep it pretty simple. I mostly use silver, which I would use on sunny days, or gold, which I would use on cloudier days, as gold is supposed to be more reflective in lower light conditions. And then beyond that, I'll expand on slightly different color variations with gold with a little bit of black on it, or maybe more an orange than gold, and then even a perch or fire tiger color if I want something with a little bit of orange and green in it. So for how to fish these, generally 45 degrees is the water temp that you want to start throwing those. And then you're at that top end of the water temp range, you can fish these a little bit more aggressively. The amount of hop that you give it and how short your pauses are in between can be much more aggressive at 45 degrees versus when you get down to 40 and below, you want to make your hops very subtle, basically just a little flick of the wrist. You want to feel that bait vibrate just a couple of times and let it sit. Believe it or not, you will find that the fish will eat these things off the bottom even when it's been sitting there for like 10 plus seconds. So don't feel that your bites are only going to come when this thing is moving. You'd be surprised how many bites you get when it's just sitting there. As for rigging it, there are a series of holes that are on the front. The further forward that you set the snap clip in there, the less vibration, if you will, that you're going to get when you snap it. The further back, the more violent the wobble is as you're working it. In general, I try to keep it further forward at the warmer water temperature, and I slowly move it back as water temperature comes down. When it comes to gear, there's a couple of different ways a lot of people like to do this. I myself like about a 7-foot medium to medium heavy spinning rod, going braid to fluoro for my leader because I do tend to be around a lot of rocks when I'm fishing this late in the year. And the added benefit of the braid is I'm fishing really deep water. I can still just barely get a couple of vibrations out of it and feel that, thanks to the braid having zero stretch. That's going to wrap up this bass fishing quick tip. I hope you guys found that helpful. If you enjoyed this or you did find it helpful, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. If there's anything else you want me to elaborate further, so I'm trying to keep the video itself short, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I'll get to it. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and catch you in the next one.